Fidel Castro sent word back to them, nobody's going to take over but me. And whereupon they sent back word and said, all right, if you feel that way about it, we will not take part in the strike. And of course, if they didn't take part in the strike wouldn't be successful in Havana, and then it wouldn't be successful throughout the country. This is how we knew, or at least how I knew, that there was no controlling of Fidel Castro. He was going to run the show all by himself.
And once Castro did come to power, did we promptly recognize him? Did we support him?
Yes, we recognized him. I think we recognized him too soon. The policy of the United States had always been that we did not recognize any country that had had a revolution. We did not want to be the first. We did not want to be the last, but we wanted to be in between somewhere. And the United States policy had always been that we wanted to assure ourselves that they would honor international obligations which had been incurred by the previous administration, and that the new government would not be communist dominated. We did not wait for any of these. Fidel Castro came into Havana on the 1st of January, and I was recognized him and gave him his papers of recognition. I think it was either about the 6th of January, maybe it was the 7th of January. It would have been sooner. I was asked to come to Washington so that they could give me the papers, send me back, and I refused to go. That was on the 3rd of January until all Americans had left Cuba. I wasn't going to leave Cuba and take a seat on an airplane or a place on a ship that some American could get out until. I wasn't going to leave until it was ready. And when I told them that it was clear now from my point of view to come up, then I flew up. And that was on the 6th of January.
Do you see any parallel between what happened in Cuba and what has recently happened in Nicaragua?
Yes, I believe that Nicaragua is Cuba all over again. Exactly the same things. We are responsible for the removal of Somoza, the same as we were responsible for the removal of Batista. We would not support Somoza. We would not give him arms. We shut off the arms going in there, and we winked at the arms going in to the Sandinistas, but we wouldn't support him. And it actually, some people have said that we didn't support Castro even after he got out. We did. We went right on with a subsidy on the exporting of American sugar, which had been done actually since the days of Roosevelt. We continued it through all the regimes there, and we continued to do it with Fidel Castro. And the same support went to the Sandinistas.
And is there a communist influence within the Sandinista movement?
Well, yes. Thomas Borgay, who was the chief security officer and in charge of the police, is a self-proclaimed Marxist. They have a junta there of 5, of which 2 are Marxists. They claim that 3 are conservatives, but there's no proof of that. And all we have to do now is look at the record is what's happened there.
Why do you feel our State Department wanted to topple Batista and bring Fidel Castro to power when he did have a leftist leaning, when there was communist infiltration of his movement?
Well, first of all, we don't have a foreign policy. As ambassador to a foreign country, the United States ambassador, I was never told what our foreign policy was. I don't believe we have one. The only policy that I can assure you that we've had so far is for the overthrow of all rightist dictators who are friendly to the United States and anti-communists. And then when we do overthrow them, we aren't prepared to go in and set up elections to see that they're honest. We step out, and that's when the communists step in.
It seems that we always oppose the rightist dictators and we support the leftist dictators. Is there any reason for this?
Well, the only reason I can give is that they believe a leftist dictator is more progressive.
And by progressive you mean socialistically inclined?
Oh, yes.
Ambassador, why is it that we always seem to be opposing rightist dictatorships, whereas we always seem to be supporting leftist dictatorships?
Well, the only answer I can give you to that is because they consider leftist dictators as being progressive.
But certainly aren't they totalitarian?
Say that again.
Certainly aren't these leftist dictatorships just as totalitarian? In fact, many times much more totalitarian and much more ruthless than the rightist dictatorships?
They're worse. All you've got to do is take Stalin, for example, and what goes on in Russia.
All right, sir. What do you think is the future of Central America?
Well, the present future would appear that we've lost Panama, at least I believe Panama is going to be communist. Nicaragua is. Nicaragua is Cuba all over again. El Salvador was overthrown, and there's a military government there now, but it would appear that the communists are going to take over in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and Costa Rica. Costa Rica's already in their hands. And then it is possible that they will move on up into Mexico and Venezuela because of the oil.
I see. I'm going to ask
Now
that.
this is, and what are we going to do about it? Nothing. The Monroe Doctrine is dead. Our actions have indicated that.
I'm going to ask that again. What, in your opinion, is the future of Central America today?
It would appear that Central America is going to be under the communist control, and I see a very bad future. Nicaragua has already gone communist, and then we're going to have El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Costa Rica.
What about Panama?
The same pattern is going on. Well, the Panama Canal, the American Canal in Panama was surrendered to the Panamanian government, which is under the control of Castro and the communists.
What about islands in the Caribbean?
And the islands of the Caribbean, that's also. On the last chapter of my book, which I wrote in 1962, I said that we must be prepared to do something and stop. Otherwise, eventually we will have a red lake. The Caribbean will become a red lake. In Grenada, they moved in. In Jamaica, it's practically communist. Guyana is communist. Of course, Cuba is communist. So they're closing in on us from all sides. Not only is the Monroe Doctrine dead by our actions, but it's about time that we stood in there and reinforced it.
Now,
We enacted it.
could Fidel Castro have taken power in Cuba without the active support of the American State Department?
No, Fidel Castro, of course, could not have taken over in Cuba without the support of the fourth floor.
What, in your opinion, is the future of America if we continue following the same foreign and domestic policies that we've followed for the
May I
past
go back
20
and
years?
add one thing, without the support of the fourth floor and the press in the United States.